Hi, my name is Mike Caton and I'm one of the track coaches for the Landsharks track team in Colorado Springs, Colorado. I've been coaching track for a little over 25 years, and the last 15 of those have been mostly dedicated to running either track or cross country at either the middle school, high school, or club level. Today we're going to be talking about how to warm up. Now before I show you the warm up, I need to tell you that I've tried many warm-ups over the years. At least early on starting out, I would try some more popular warm-ups and I just was never really happy with them. They were either too long or they were too complicated. There were some things that were going on in them that some of the athletes just could never master, and it just drove me crazy. So I basically decided several years ago just to put my own together, and just to let you know, it continues to be an evolution. For the first few years, I would come up with an idea, I would run it by the kids and try it, and I would find things I didn't like and tweak it, change it. It actually got kind of comical to where it was like, oh, coach has a new warm-up today. But anyway, I settled down into one, and it's just been small tweaks, and I've been sticking with one for the last 3 years, so I feel pretty good about it. But I wouldn't be surprised if by the time you're watching this video I've made a few changes, but it's still one that I feel pretty good about. The reason why I like it is because it doesn't take a lot of time. It's relatively easy for the kids to learn. It can be done on any surface and in any venue. We're going to show it to you today on a field, but during the track season we'll also do it on the track, and if it's bad weather and we're indoors, it could be done on a gym. So it really doesn't matter. All the warm-up exercises are standing, so you never have to lie down on any bad surfaces or anything like that. So we'll just get started. Okay, this warm-up is what's called a dynamic warm-up, and in case you don't know what that means, dynamic warm-up means that there's constantly motion going on. You don't ever just hold stretches while you're in place. You do them moving, so it's much more like what you're actually going to do in your sport, and so it's preparing your body dynamically for that. Also, like any good dynamic warm-up, it starts at a very easy level and then gradually picks it up, so it gradually warms up your body and prepares it at the end it's actually pretty challenging getting you ready for the exercise you're going to do, or the workout, or actually the competing. So that's what we're going to do here. Also, if you notice that they're sort of in a circular pattern, it doesn't have to be this way. I've kind of created it, the first two movements so we do in a circle, and it's a good time for just sort of everybody just to chat at the beginning of the workout, but also either me or one of the other coaches could be in the center of the circle, and we can use that time for me talking to the athletes or giving instructions for the day, coaching them through the warm-up, or just in general saying, here's what the workout is today. The first exercise that we're doing is called a glute activator. And the glute activator is something that I borrowed from the muscle activation world, where they like to make sure that muscles are activated and ready to go. And the glute activator is one of the biggest one. Reason being is because your glute muscles throughout the course of a day have been sitting in a chair or who knows what for a very long time, stretched out, relaxed. And you want to basically tell those big powerful muscles that, hey, we're getting ready to work. So what we do is they will start off on one leg, put all their weight on their left leg, stick their right leg back, and 10 times tighten that glute muscle just to wake it up and get it ready for work. And then once they're finished with that, they just shift their weight over to the other leg, stick the left leg back now, and tighten that glute muscle 10 times for about a second each time. I might have a captain or a coach lead them through and count for them. That way everybody stays at the same pace. Okay, this next warm-up exercise is called the squat stretch. We do this one because, one, we want to start doing some squats just to get the blood flowing to the big leg muscles. But not only that, this helps start to dynamically stretch your hamstring muscles, but not in a way that is putting too much load on them at the same time. So what will happen is as the athletes lift up, they're only stretching their hamstrings to a point that's comfortable for their body at that point. And as they do this 10 times, they try to go a little higher each time, always keeping their hands on the ground. Okay, the last one that we do in the circle are called toe raises. And for this, I have the athletes bend as far forward as they can. If they can touch the ground, great. If not, they're just reaching towards the ground. And while they're doing that, they're lifting their toes alternately. And what this does is it continues stretching the hamstring, but it also starts to stretch the calf muscles. And it's done in a way where you can definitely feel like the fascia stretching out, which is a good thing to do because we certainly want our calves and our hamstrings loose before we get ready to run. Okay, the next set of exercises we do in a line, and we're moving forward as we do them. You can either do them continuously moving or do it back and forth. They can either be done on a track or they could be done on a field. They could be done indoors in a gym. It doesn't matter. The first exercise we're going to do is walking on your toes. The next exercise is walking on your heels. This is also starting to get your ankles warm, but also to warm up your shins, your tibialis anterior muscles, just to get them ready for the dynamics of running. Very good. So continuing on with this, we now take those first two and combine them. We call this one heel toe. So the athlete is walking forward, landing on their heels, going up onto their toes, really tightening that. Okay, the next exercise is called the A walk. It's just like the A skip, if you're familiar with that, which we will do later in the warm-up. But we do this one just walking so they can, again, gradually build up the intensity. But also it's a good chance to teach the younger athletes the proper way to do an A skip.
Thank you.
The next exercise is called the B walk. So just like the A walk, the B walk is a slower version of a B skip. It's also helping the athletes work on raising their knees, but this one also starts to dynamically stretch their hamstrings in the same way that they would do when they're sprinting. Okay, this next one I made up, and because I wanted an exercise that stretched your ab muscles, your hip flexors, and your quads as your legs went back on the back swing of your stride. My athletes call them ice skaters because it simulates what an ice skater might be doing, and you could see these athletes doing this. Okay, the next one is a lunge stretch because I wanted to further increase the dynamics of getting the quads ready, but also I threw in a hip flexor stretch. So if it's done properly, the athletes stay nice and tall, they go into a lunge position, but before they step out of it, they straighten their back leg, push their hips a little forward so they feel a stretch up their quad and their hip flexor and into their abdominals.
Okay. Go.
Okay, the next one is a side lunge because we want to continue the progression of the intensity of the exercises and continue bringing blood into your quad muscles and getting them ready. But also here you start to stretch out some of your inner thigh muscles because those are, sometimes troublesome in running. There's lots of variety you can do with a side lunge, but this seems to be the method that my athletes seem to prefer. Okay, the next part of the warm-up is where we start to progress into more running specific things. I'm under the personal belief that all runners should be landing on their forefoot or the front half of their foot. So these drills help get them ready for that. I'll first start having them jump in place about 10 times, getting used to the feel of landing on their forefoot and also feeling that balance. And then they progress into jogging in place the same way. We'll probably do 10 times on each leg, and then once they're finished with that, they progress that into jogging around the track with that same foot landing, probably 2 laps. Okay, good. Okay, once they finish their 1 or 2 laps, whatever you decide to do, now we progress right into skipping drills. So we're going to do the traditional A skip, which helps the athlete work on raising their knee and making sure their body's in the right position as they run. Okay, progressing along in our skips, now we go right into the B skip. Has the same, very similar as the A skip, but now we're also working on dynamic stretching of the hamstring muscles. Okay, now we progress into some bounding drills, or what you might call plyometrics. The first one we do, I call a stiff leg bound. It's very much like what, if you've ever seen a straight leg bound, but I like to modify a little bit because I don't want to teach kids to run with a straight leg. I want to have a knee slightly bent when they do it. But the emphasis is hitting the ground and what we call tearing back at the track, or the feeling of letting your foot hit the ground and push back on the track, propelling your hips forward. Okay, the last one is what we call a speed bound. And honestly, it's the hardest one to teach and for the kids to get to do. I don't want to give up on it because I think it's very important. But basically they're bounding forward 1 leg at a time, like an exaggerated run, working on their knee lift, being very powerful. Okay, so that's the warm-up that we do. Hopefully it will work for you. You could either use it as is, or if you're like me, find a few things you like out of it, add them into stuff that you already like doing. Doesn't matter, but you see the progression that I think you should do, where you start off really easy, progressing into more and more intense things, to where by the end of the warm-up, the kids are almost doing stuff that's as hard as what they would be doing in competition, or certainly in their repetitions, so their body's ready for it. And if you have any questions about this warm-up or anything related to youth track and field, feel free to contact us through landsharksrunclub.com, and we'll get back to you with an answer.